You're not following your authentic path and making the choices from that sovereign place of you knowing who you are and what you want. Oh, that's so good. Every time. Hey, it's Dee, and this is Plant Body Mystic. On this channel, I built out this van that I'm currently in with my mom less than a month, and I hit the road and started traveling. Now, I am on a little pause from traveling, and today I just want to give you guys an update on where I am and what content is to come, because we're going to dive a little bit deeper on the conversations that I've been having with you all, and this is regarding your authentic path. So, with that being said, I am going to give a little backstory and kind of go through what I've been through since I've moved back. And this is all have been a part of my authentic path and just showing you how it's been unfolding, because I think this has been a great tool for me, understanding your authentic path and what that means for me from my perspective. And I want to share that because I know that it can absolutely help someone else in their journey in this lifetime on their authentic paths. In addition to that, y'all, this juice is so good. This is watermelon, beets with lemon, and that's it. It's so good. But I'm not gonna slurp. I'm gonna take a pause because it's so good. I just like slurp it. Anywho, back to what I was saying. What was I saying? Don't tell me it's about to rain. I think it's raining. I got the door wide open. I'm gonna just have to close it and hopefully the water don't get inside. Okay, so in addition to me sharing a little bit about the content to come regarding your authentic path, I will give you an exterior update of the van because I did do some things. I know the last video, as far as the exterior, I left off with doing the truck bedding on the roof and on the hood. You may have seen that, but if you have not, I'll update you on that and show you what else I've done since then. If you feel you're interested in living a life of freedom, whether that's van life or any other type of lifestyle, grasping a hold of your own personal sense of freedom is what we talk about and share on this channel. We share sustainable travel and conscious living, as well as your authentic path, which is a framework that I have went back, reflected on how I got onto my authentic path and the tools that I use, how I got there, the mindset and the mental framework that I was able to gather from reflecting on my path. And so I've created this framework, and that is what I will be sharing with you all going forward these next handful of weeks, as I've taken a pause in traveling, because I'm focusing on my career, getting headshots, getting all the things done, auditions are coming in, that sort of thing. So I'm off the road, back at home base in the country. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of me sitting still, having these deep, great conversations with you all. And I'm looking forward to it, so go ahead and subscribe. Okay, first let me show you what I've done to the exterior of the van, and let me know what you think. I know I said I was going to paint it, but this is what I did so far instead. Let me first give you guys a little background on me so you can understand my authentic path and how I've got to where I am today. All right, so let me start with how I ended up moving back to Texas from LA after 16 plus years. I shared a bit of my story. I'll link it in the description below, or I'll tag it at the end of this video so you can go ahead and watch that. It's called My Story. I shared a bit about kind of my emotional journey in LA and kind of what kind of got me out of that. So go ahead and check that video out at the end of this video. Now, when I was coming back to LA, things had gotten really expensive. I had moved out of my apartment, and I had all of my things in storage. And I said, you know what? Let me come back home after then. This was 2023. I was like, let me get my new headshots, do my reel, and then right after that, I hit the road. But my intentions were to come back for a couple of months, get everything sorted out, maybe make some money, get everything situated so I can go back and figure out where I'm going to be, where I'm going to live, etc. And so as I was driving back to Texas, I was driving and a question came in my mind, and I said, well, when I come back, what am I coming back to? And I didn't have anything that I wholeheartedly needed to come back to. I love the friends that I created there. They're amazing group of young women that I became really good friends with. I love them. I miss them. I do want to get back to visit them. However, there was no job. There was no bookings. No auditions were coming in. I didn't have an agent at that time because during the pandemic, my agent that I had to close their business. I didn't have any type of romantic relationship, nothing that I was tied to have to come back to. Nothing was keeping me there. And at the same time, I felt this shift of energy, and the conclusion to that was that I became the woman who I needed to be, so my time there was complete. Of course, going back to LA to visit, spend some time there, absolutely. But to live permanently, I probably will never go back to ever live permanently in Los Angeles, right? Now, when I say I became the woman who I needed to be, that is a part which we'll reflect on later, what got me to where I am today, especially as far as career. So, long story short, after 16 plus years living in LA, I was studying, if you don't know, I'm an actor. So I moved to LA to pursue acting. I studied class, doing performances, etc., 16 plus years. I booked a national commercial. That's the only big job other than some short films, etc. So I hadn't booked, anything major other than the national commercial, right? Which was financially, a blessing. And so I moved back to Texas. And within that year, I got into class. I was in a few classes. And I ended up getting an agent. And I ended up getting some auditions. And I ended up getting my first TV role. My first official legit job. That legit job ended up being one of the biggest shows right now today, which is Landman, starring Billy Bob Thornton, which is one of Taylor Sheridan's creations, which I'm so grateful for in so many ways. I'll get into detail with that on another video maybe, but this video's purpose is to show you my path and how I allowed my intuition and my getting back to my authentic self take me to winning and success, right? So that's what we all desire. We want to win. We want to have success in our lives. And success means to you may be different from someone else, and even different from what I believe success is, because it can be a plethora of things depending on, who you are, what your ambitions are, what your talents are, etc. And so I want to kind of pave out my journey so that you can see how me going and living into my authentic self and following my intuition led me to gaining the success and gaining the ability to live the life that I dreamt of living. So first, let me start by saying that I always had a strong sense of who I was and what I desired and what I wanted out of life. However, my actions and the way that I was living life was not reflecting what I felt about myself and how I felt, who I truly was. So, example, I was living in the apartment, right? But I was desiring just to be on the road and to be traveling and going here and there and really exploring the world, right? So I would be living in my apartment in LA, but I would get in my Nissan Juke, which I had at the time, and I would hit the road and I would go a couple nights and I would just camp out in my car and travel and just do things and be all out everywhere, going to hot springs and wherever else, and that was what I loved, and I thrived off traveling and being on the road. However, I would come back to the apartment and eventually, before moving, of course, ended up struggling because, the funds went down, the jobs went down, the pandemic really kind of messed everything up, and then all the savings kind of dwindled down. So it forced me out. And I'm a strong believer that circumstances pushes you towards where your higher self or God is trying to get you to go, even though you don't see it in your conscious mind. Your subconscious mind is putting you in these situations to push you towards your authentic self and what you truly say you desire. Like I'm saying, I desire to be on the road. I desire to, to travel and do all these things. Yet I'm sitting at home in the apartment every day, not doing that. Every now and then I would take those trips, but this was something that I wanted to do full time. And even back then, this was like 6 years ago, 8 years ago now, actually, where initially I was wanting to do a box truck build out. And I was watching so many videos of box trucks, even buses, and etc. But I was still living in the apartment. Fast forward, moving back to Texas, my instincts of saying like, you know what, there's nothing to go back to. Let me just move back. And then moving back and then following my instincts of saying, okay, I need to get my feet on the ground. I need to, get myself together. So I got a regular day job, got myself together, ended up getting a rental house. Now, here is where everything shifted. I was in the rental house doing the 9 to 5. Mental state crushed. Creative energy dead. And that's when I woke up and I realized I cannot live this type of life. Even though I was doing it initially just to get on my feet because I had moved back and I was trying to get things going for myself, it just was not the lifestyle for me. So I said, you know what? I am going to do bus life. At the time, I was wanting a bus. Of course, that turned into van life. But living life on the road, essentially, is what I'm saying. And just to have that freedom to not have rent, and even renting a place where you can't even decorate it and live in it the way you desire to live in it and express yourself in your home, because there's so many rules and regulations on the rental properties. So I said, you know what? I'm never going to rent again. I'm never going to ever pay a mortgage. Whatever I do, I'm going to buy it straight out and I'm just going to own it. And I started off with buying this van. I own this van, and this is my tiny house on wheels. My home base is at my mom's until I get my own, piece of property or build something of my own. And we'll get to that another time. But following my instincts of saying, you know what, this is what I'm going to do to get myself situated. Once I was situated, things changed. I understood that in me, it just was not sitting right for me to be doing a day job. I was just ecstatic when I got fired, let me tell you. Girl was smiling, ear gums all up in the air. Just smiling so hard because I was so happy that I got fired. And to have that type of emotion from getting fired, you would think that would be a negative thing. But because I knew that my true authentic self, that was not meant for me. That was not my authentic path. So once I got let go, I started making plans. I said, okay, I'm going to get out of this rental. I had like a handful of months left. Got out of that and built this van out and started traveling. And let me tell you how liberated I have felt since that day. And I want to be able to give that back to you, because the feeling of liberation and feeling free in your mind, in your body, your actions on a day-to-day, being able to do whatever you want to do, how you want to do it, is, I don't even have a word. I mean, it's the most incredible feeling to have. Now, there may be things come up, you may not have all the things, but living without feeling constrained of your abilities to make choices on your own and not having to follow the system, that to me is freedom. So I don't want this video to be too long, but I do have to say, in order to gain that freedom that I've been talking about, you have to be living your authentic self, following your authentic path. And this is where my framework of the authentic path comes into play, because living a life of freedom does not fall under following whatever the system tells you should be doing and who you should be and what you should be. Having that sovereignty to think on your own, to have your own ideas, your own passions, and not doing something because the system says this is what's good for you. For example, I went to college and I started out as a nursing student. I was going to get my degree in nursing because the system said this is a good job. This is what's going to, make you have a good life. When all in all, when I was in college, I became so miserable. I ended up getting tension headaches. And again, my health just depleted when you're not following your authentic path and making the choices from that sovereign place of you knowing who you are and what you want. So once I changed my major and just got a general degree in arts, the headaches went away. So that's an example of what I mean when I say in order to experience that freedom, you have to be living your authentic self, following your authentic path. And that is different for everybody. But the framework that I will be sharing will, in fact, get you on that path if you're not quite there, get you further along if you're stuck in one place, and continue to help you and guide you in growing on this authentic path. And I am very ecstatic to share it with you all because, again, now this is another thing for me. You know how we have fear that comes up, and sometimes it's not always fear. Sometimes it's just that knowing that we're going to have a huge responsibility on our hands if we do do something, right? And this something for me is sharing this work with you all. So sharing this work, that means, okay, now I'm responsible for a part of my purpose, because I do feel a part of my purpose is to share in this capacity to help other people. That's been from day one. I always knew I wanted to travel, act, and help people. And now I have gotten to a place of clarity where I understand how I can help people. And this is sharing in this way on this platform. So let's get ready to dive in these next videos. I hope you will enjoy. I hope they resonate. And again, take what resonates with you always and leave the rest. And just comment and let me know how you feel about your authentic path. If you feel like you are living in your true authentic self and making choices from your authentic self and not what's been taught down to you, programmed into you, right? Whether that's job, whether that's relationship, whether that's, your day-to-day activities and the things that you do. Are you doing it because it's trending, or are you doing it because you actually like it? You actually truly have interest in it. You're truly buying something because you truly like it, and not because it's a fad or it's in style and you want to look like you are whatever that image is that you're trying to become or trying to be, to have someone else think of you in a specific way. And I think that's another huge thing is image. And the image is another thing that I kind of dealt with a lot, and I kind of fought against it, and I struggled a little bit because I knew that this particular image, for example, I used to be very into church. I used to go to church every Sunday, every Wednesday, etc. I was a church girl before I moved to LA. And at the time, because I really loved dancing, hip hop, and I was taught, by the church that, you're not supposed to listen to secular music. It's blah, blah, blah. And I just felt so like constrained within because I wanted to dance and express myself. And not saying all, music is the greatest or whatever, some of it is kind of rough, but that wasn't even the idea. It was secular all around, right? And I love music. And I felt so constrained and so like I couldn't be myself and dance and live the free self that I wanted to be and listen to all music, right? Because I felt like if I had to keep this image of being this Christian church girl and I couldn't do certain things, and that restrained me, that restrained my personal authentic self. And I got out of that. Once I moved, I started finding my own way and getting even closer to God and understanding my power and how we are creators on this universe. And me gaining that spiritual path and following my spiritual path and getting away from the teachings of the churches, it really gave me excuse me, it really gave me that sense of freedom excuse me, it really gave me that sense of freedom that I've been seeking for even though I didn't know that's what I was needing. I just knew, I just felt so constrained, and I couldn't like what I liked because it was wrong by the church's eyes, you know? And that is, you know, I don't want to get into too many different things, but that's just an example of what I mean about, you know, living your authentic self and choosing your path and not choosing from what's been programmed to you or taught to you by others who may think they have your best interest at heart. I don't really agree with that saying either, because your best interest is only known by you. Only you can know. And a lot of times I know it's really difficult, especially for, you know, kids whose parents or whomever raised them, you know, tell them you have to do this, you have to do that, this is what's right for you. And they do it out of love, but at the same time, not having that understanding that we all have our own authentic path and our own purpose. And your purpose may not be the same as what your parents' were or whoever raised you, etc. And it's hard for them and you to kind of find that respect and that balance to where you can live your authentic self and still have the respect and support from your parents or your family or whomever. Again, don't want to get too deep into it, but we're going to be covering a lot of these types of things, a lot of these types of scenarios, and we all can relate because it's life. Everyone deals with the same things, feeling stuck, feeling unsure, not knowing what choices to make. And this is what we're going to be unlatching and uncovering through the framework of the authentic path. So go ahead and subscribe, y'all. I'm excited. Like the video, share the video, and I'm looking forward to next week's video, as I will be giving you the basic introduction of the authentic path. Again, I am Dee, and I'll see you guys on the next video.